This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
There we go. Alright, so this is our new agenda. Welcome everybody. We'll make a motion to open the Board of Public Works meeting for April 27th at 5:01 p.m.
I'll second that.
Thomas Salisbury,
Present.
David Fagnan,
Present.
Steve Litwin.
Present.
Should I take that as all in favor?
Yep. I just realized I did that.
All in favor, motion carries.
Alright, looking at our standard agenda, item number 1 is public speak, and we currently do not have anyone joining us. Item number 2 is our standing mayor speak item. Are we expecting the mayor at all this evening for
Nope,
any of the
not
items?
tonight.
Alright, item number 3, approval of April 6, 2022 meeting minutes.
These are the actual minutes.
Yep, was everybody?
Sign the page if you're in agreement.
Alright, if everybody reviewed them?
I did review that.
Okay.
Make a motion to sign and approve as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
David Fagnan,
Yes.
Steve Litwin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries. Thank you.
Right. Back to shuffling papers. All right, item number 4 is an open meeting law complaint, discussion and response. As you guys are aware, on April 10th, someone sent in a complaint to the city clerk, which was forwarded to me from Mr. Scott Callahan, city resident. The complaint was that they have requested copies of the certificate of receipt of open meeting law materials for all members of all open bodies. To date, I have not received all certificates for Board of Public Works. So, as required by the State Attorney's General Office, we need to meet and discuss this issue within 14 days, 14 business days, which is here currently within. I requested information from the city's clerk and then did a little research on my own and drafted a response for your review. It's pretty straightforward. I brought, we had forms on file for myself and Steve. Steve signed it when he joined the board, zoning board, and I signed it when I joined. We did not have one on record for Dave. He has acknowledged in the past that he did receive the packet and had reviewed it.
Right.
So you were aware of open meeting law.
Oh, yes.
We just did not have the form on record.
Yes.
We'll amend that, and Steve and I will also sign new copies as well. The official requirement is we should sign it again when we are reappointed to boards.
I believe I did all this information I see 4 and 5, all these forms I signed,
Yes.
submitted
Yep, you signed.
directly to the mayor, even the new one on number 5.
The city clerk only had one on file for you. Yep.
All right, well, we'll do it again.
Yep, we'll sign them again, and we'll just keep record.
I have signed mine.
Yep, you signed one on the 13th.
Right.
So
After this came to light. Yes.
We're going to have Steve sign one today for DPW, and I'll sign one, because I should have signed one for my reappointment as well. Where did I have? So I did send out that draft The only revision I made after I sent it was I added the CC at the bottom, because I also have to send a copy to the Attorney General's office for record. So that was the only language change I made. If you have any other issues, I'll make note. I just added this to the bottom.
Okay, yeah. No, that's not.
Too many paper copies.
Both of you or
One for, nope, Dave signed one.
I think I'm
Dave
signed.
Yep, Dave
Yeah.
signed up to sign one on the 13th.
That's a long time ago. I talked to Barbara, clerk of Lombard, and then everything started shutting down.
Yeah, no, I actually looked back and you were appointed on the same day.
No, and she, I know
Yeah.
her a little bit too, says you have to come in and get sweared in, and then,
Yep.
of course, everyone shut
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the timeline was just,
Yep. Okay.
but, yeah, I forwarded a copy of that finding to the clerk, just so they're aware that
Okay.
for all bodies, it's upon appointment and renewal, and if you're on multiple boards. So it just increases the paper trail, I guess, but
Yeah.
we're all aware now. I was a little shocked I found almost a exact similar situation in the findings. That's what.
That you emailed, right?
Yep, I
That one?
emailed.
Yeah.
I emailed
Yeah,
that to the
I
site.
read that this afternoon.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask you at some point to give these to the clerk and just make
Sure.
copies for me to include with the
Sure.
response.
Do you want a copy right now? I can copy it right now.
Now or at the end of the meeting?
Okay. And this is the response you're gonna, the one that I had, that email, or
Yep.
is there a different?
The only change I made was I added a CC
CC at the bottom?
At the bottom.
Okay.
The Attorney General's office, which I may have left in their printer, but I will send that out to Stephen and everybody. Oh, no, here it is. So this was the only change I made, was adding the division of open meeting.
Yep.
That's the address. I have to send that, a copy.
Okay.
And
Can I
just-
just take that,
Yep.
and I'm gonna take a copy of all this and give this to Barbara?
Yep, so here's everything that I'm including in the response.
Okay.
So this is the one I signed in 2019,
Okay.
the one that Steve signed when he joined the Board of Zoning Board,
Okay.
and this is the one that Dave signed this
Okay.
month, and then the two from us
Two
today.
from- Okay. I will make copies and give that to you, and then I can
Yep.
do. Do you want me to give them right to Barbara?
Sure.
I can give them to her tomorrow morning.
Well, first we need to designate me as the respondent, which by default is the chair, came to me.
Okay.
We can assign someone else, the clerk, city council, or if we're happy with my response, I can send it out. So, and if you're happy with the language, or any edits that you would like.
I think that looks fine to myself.
All right.
Yeah, back to you.
Oh, thank you. You don't need.
And here is,
I have enough of them at work myself.
and this is the official complaint. So I'm going to include a copy of the complaint with
Okay.
the response to the Attorney General.
Okay.
Because as of right now, I don't think they're in the loop. That comes to us first.
Okay.
Our response goes to them
With everything.
with everything.
Okay.
We'll send one to the complainant. If the complainant is satisfied, that resolves it. If they don't feel satisfied, they can then refer it to the Attorney General's office to do an investigation. Yep.
Yep.
So if everyone is okay with that, I'm gonna make a motion to designate me as the respondent and submit the letter as prepared.
Second.
Thomas Foster,
Yes.
David Tagnon,
Yes.
Steve Liquid,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Alright. Concludes that, hopefully. Item number 5, discussion on the Holy Hill Street pedestrian conceptual improvement designs.
Okay.
Okay, so as you guys are aware, we've engaged VHB to take a look at the pedestrian crossings, East Green and Allen Streets along Oil Street, in an effort to pursue a shared streets program grant, which we need to have the application in for the next few days. They've given us 3 concepts for the intersection of East Green Street and 1 for Allen Street. That one's a little more straightforward. Allen Street's a little more of a straightforward improvement there. East Green Street's somewhat challenging as the commercial building on the north side of the street needs vehicle access along their frontage on East Green Street. So, we looked at a couple different.
That's a bear to pull out of that building.
Yes. Yeah. Onto Oil Street.
I did it 2 weeks ago.
Onto Oil Street.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. They were saying the same thing. Yeah.
There's nothing to do about it.
No, not really.
No.
Not without
Yeah. Yeah.
large project. But so with these concepts, Jeff and I, Jeff Bag, city planner Bag, I met with the building owner and one of the building tenants on Monday, and went over kind of how their property could be affected and what we would do for access if we were to go with the sidewalk being on the north side of the street. If we do try to put it on the south side of the street, you see sketches for that in concepts 1 and 3. With it on the south side of the street, the houses that are there have fairly smaller front yards. We would be taking quite a bit of their property, which we don't want to burden them with. And the other thing, the sidewalk is already on the north side of East Green Street. What we're afraid of, if we don't continue the sidewalk there, people will just continue to walk along walk along their apron and not use the new crossing. So we had a great conversation with the tenant and building owner on Monday. And they seemed very receptive to the improvements we're trying to make. We did talk about keeping the curb, using a mountable granite curb there, so when they do have tractor trailer delivery, they can get it in and out without too much trouble, and maintaining these two fairly large curb cuts with a concrete sidewalk along the front of the property. So, in my opinion, concept 2 is really probably the best to move along with, but I do want the board to be comfortable with that also, as opposed to the other 2. But those basically lays out the reasons why we were leaning towards concept 2.
No, I think obviously for the same reason you stated, concept 2 does work as long as the property owner is on board.
Yep.
That is a major
So had they been
reconfiguration of their area, which I mean they've expanded into city property with their parking area anyway. But, you know, I know it's been historically that way for quite some time.
Yes.
Were there any comments or objections from any of the
No, they were very receptive to the change, and somewhat, the building owner seemed to be somewhat excited about it. So I told him I'd keep him in the loop as we progress. I think the mountable curb will be helpful. It'll be a little more expensive, but I'd rather not burden the property owner with the 6-inch reveal of granite there that they can't get a tractor trailer over. The other thing, we want to keep it easy for tractor trailers to park there, because we don't want them stopping and unloading on Oil Street.
Right.
Because that just is going to create another safety hazard. So
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to try to go with a mountable curb, 2 fairly wide aprons for vehicles to get in and out, and a nicely defined sidewalk along.
Right.
the north side
Yeah,
of the street there.
there's just currently no pedestrian refuge there.
Not at all. Not at all. So any upgrade at this intersection requires an area of refuge on the East Green side.
So again, the property owner is okay, or,
Yep.
or whatever.
Yep, receptive, very receptive.
Receptive,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is the most,
Yeah, I
it works,
I
it works
agree
with
with
what's
Yep.
there,
that's
the
what-
natural pedestrian
Yeah.
flow that's already there.
But we'll carry that in our grant application
Yeah.
and try to make that happen. I'm
Mhm.
cautiously optimistic we'll be able to get construction going in the next year, so I'd really like to get those improvements in.
Yeah. Or is there any provision for rapid flashers or?
Yes, there is. Our
Oh,
rectangular rapid
Yeah,
flashing
yeah, right
beacons.
there.
Yep. They will be a set here at East Green and Holyoke, and also at Allen Street. We can discuss the Allen Street set. Like,
But there's only one concept for Allen?
yes,
Pretty much
just the one. 'cause
one way to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. One thing we are going to try to carry in our grant application is an ADA accessible sidewalk from the limit of work shown on these plans to the corner with, is it Echo?
Is there
To
any,
basically ADA sidewalk access into Cliffview. I can't think of the name of that first street there.
is there any state requirement on the width of Holyoke there? Is there any chance for traffic calming lookouts?
I can look into that, I can check with VHP.
Yeah.
We weren't planning on narrowing the right away in this work.
I mean, long term, I mean, full disclosure, I'm a resident on Holyoke, up
Yeah.
further towards Cottage and Clark, but, you know, I would welcome any traffic calming
Okay.
along Holyoke, so I think do an improvement now that didn't include it.
If it's feasible.
If we're gonna look to something in the future.
Who is responsible for a winter cleanup in the winter time of sidewalks? Is it the resident?
Yeah, the building owner, the resident building.
Property owner, yeah.
Yeah. Along Allen Street where there's really no one. There is actually some sidewalk there now. It's in pretty poor condition. We will want to redo that all the way back.
What is traffic calming or calming? I'm not familiar with it.
Just on like long straightaways.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a tendency for speed creep and,
Yeah.
you know, any sort of non-obstruction, but that causes a driver to slow,
Narrowing the lane.
narrowing the lane.
Out on each side.
Like when we did on Clark Street, you know, Clark Street was
Yeah.
marked on the sides and we
Mhm.
put white stripes to put in.
Mm-hmm.
And that apparent narrowing, in theory, is
Sure.
supposed to help,
Okay.
you know.
Mhm.
Like we're looking at some on Union Street. I mean, there's pedestrian refuge in the new parking structures, which
Yep.
sort of narrow the crosswalks from apron to apron as well.
Okay.
So that, you know, some places use small roundabouts or islands or other structures that are, you know, momentarily either divert traffic flow or cause the driver to slow.
Just
Something other than a speed bump or,
encourage you to slow.
yeah, but don't impede flow of traffic for
Yeah.
fire trucks or emergency vehicles or anything like that.
Mhm.
Sort of the term.
I've seen a lot of that these speed bumps being moved.
Yeah, they're not a solvable.
Yeah.
There's more modern and alternative methods.
Yeah.
Like a speed hump, especially on Holyoke Street, it would be a noise thing. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That would be
With the
yeah.
trucks.
Yeah.
Oh, unrelated, but there's an issue I want to look at with you after.
Sure.
On Holyoke and noise.
Yeah.
I think there's a loose manhole cover.
Oh, okay, we can do that. Those are easy, generally. Those are generally easy.
There is suddenly a new noise, and I think it's probably just like a rock or something.
Could be,
under the-
yeah.
Something
Yes.
working itself in there.
Yeah, I don't know that we
Just let me know where it is.
Yeah.
We'll call the guys and they'll go out and.
fix those.
Yep.
I debated bringing home my manhole.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Just joking.
Get hurt out there. No, we can take care of
The
that.
roll of duct tape.
Okay, back to the issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think these are great improvements, and, you know, I know Jeff's really working to get stuff like this done, so I just want to have a long-term plan of, you know, are the improvements in line with what we want to see in the city long-term, because we don't come back with things like this very often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can bring it up to the most modern state. I'd like to see that in one shot.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
within what's required in the grant and all
Yep,
that.
yep. So I'll keep you posted as we go through the grant
Yeah.
process, and even if we don't get a grant, I do plan to pursue any available funding sources.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, the Green Street crossing is
Absolutely.
a priority we should look into.
Good.
Do we need to vote on any of those, or it's more informal?
Yeah, it's more informal. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
as long as the board's comfortable with it,
I think we're comfortable with supporting number 2 as long as the property owner's
accept it.
receptive to it.
Thank you for going out there and meeting with
Yeah.
them, too.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, we had a great conversation.
It's much easier to be proactive and stuff like
Yeah.
that. than-
Unannounced, and you just stopped in?
No, we made an appointment with them.
Good.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
We'll move on to item number 6, Director's Report.
All right. Pleased to report that they are moving along very well with the South Street sidewalk. We were able to fund the continuation of that down to the rail trail.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, obviously.
Yeah, but it looks great. I mean, they're down just about to John Street. Looks
They
like they're
sure
about ready to
are.
pour.
Mhm.
And it's just great because that, in my tenure in this position, that's the only street in town where I've been asked for ramps, for wheelchair ramps. So it's just great to be able to actually do something that is going to make a difference for someone. So it's just great to see that moving along.
And like you said, they're progressing pretty well.
I bet you
Even
they'll
with
be
a
done
little bit of rain and
Yeah.
all, they're cranking right along.
by the end of next week. I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll be in and done. So that's great. We are moving right along. It may not look like a lot to the public right now, Pomeroy. I was called Pomeroy Prospect Hill and Searle with the paving over there. We had it milled off about a month ago. And we've been working as fast as we can on the water and sewer infrastructure work that needed to happen. There were some services that needed to be, water services needed to be replaced, catch basins that needed to be reset, complete replacements. Sewer department's been working pretty hard, very hard on they're doing a great job on a large drainage structure at the end of Prospect. The whole street just drains back there. And there was actually 5 catch basins all in one area that they removed, put in a larger drainage structure. It's coming along nicely. So hope to be buttoning up most of our underground work there by the first part of next week on all 3 of those streets, and then we'll be able to get on Palmer's schedule to get the paving moving, start putting that up. They're also doing some spout replacement sidewalks there. The worst panels are getting taken out. We didn't quite have enough funding to do all the sidewalk on each side. There's sidewalks on both sides of Prospect Street.
Right.
Hill Avenue was an asphalt sidewalk that wasn't in terrible shape. So doing what we can with what we have over there.
It's nice to see sidewalks, seeing
Yeah.
people on the streets always makes me nervous,
Yeah.
as I'm seeing that.
We did open bids. The MassDOT is handling the bid process for Union Street. They did open bids last week. Contract documents are moving through. I had to sign some things yesterday and send them back to the state. I cannot give a date when that work will start. I'm thinking it will commence in some form this construction season. We do have a tree seedling distribution plan for May 7th. Sarah Greenleaf, our city tree warden, has been working hard to get, we're going to have 300 tree seedlings to distribute here at City Hall from 9 a.m. to noon on May 7th. There's 3 species to choose from: white oak, ginkgo, which will become large shade trees, and the Washington hawthorn. So any city resident interested in obtaining a seedling plant is welcome to come by and pick one up.
What's the date of that again, please?
May 7th, 9 to 12.
That's right here.
Yep. I am working through a appropriation for some tree work around the city that I've been working with the tree warden on. We've got a list of trees she's identified for removal that need to be taken care of. I cannot budget in this year. We asked the mayor for an appropriation to get kind of a backlog of tree work that's out there caught. So we see that working through city council in the coming weeks.
Were those identified through the tree inventory, or is that work? they've done on their
Mostly
own?
through resident concern and contacting us, and then Sarah's evaluation of the trees. Some are trims, so there's a long list of work. Some
Okay.
it's trims, some's removals. Any of the removals are necessary. And we did commit. We had the tree hearing for the removals for the Union Street construction. We had that Monday afternoon. And, we did commit, and I'm committed to doing replacing. We're pulling, I think it's 20 trees for Union Street construction to happen, and we get 5. There will be 5 new trees along Union Street. So 15 that are not made up for along Union Street. We committed to replacing those in other areas around town. So I asked some of the residents that came to the hearing to propose locations for their plantings that Sarah can take a look at and decide if they were feasible locations for public shade trees. The Streetlight Project wrapped up this week. The final work that Eversource performing is finished up yesterday. So we have a handful of outstanding lights that that would not become functional once they reinstalled because of one's got a missing neutral wire, one had no power to the pole, things like that. A couple are lights that they did put shields on that are still an issue for the residents, so we'll be sending those to our streetlight contractor for replacement with a different style unit. And that's basically my
Okay.
report for you guys.
Thank you. Unless there's any other discussion on the topic, or any questions for Greg?
The only thing I like to say is to Greg, I certainly appreciate the information that you bring forth to these meetings. I think you do a good job in doing your homework, and with Michelle's help as well. I appreciate your help too. I think you do a good job.
Thank you.
And I know I certainly appreciate it. You know, you learn a little bit going to each one of these meetings, so thank you for your
Yeah,
help.
we owe a lot to Michelle, believe me.
Michelle,
Believe me.
thank you, Michelle.
Not
Yeah.
much, very good, a lot.
No, I'm
Enjoy
sure
pepper.
there's a lot to do.
I just make sure people have the things they need to do their jobs. That's what it comes down to. It's,
That, yeah.
That's the importance.
good. We've got a lot happening in town.
Yeah.
We really do.
Really great.
Yeah.
If the weather ever warms up, boy,
I know.
things are blowing around today.
Goodness, certainly, huh?
Well, on that note, I will make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second.
Thomas Polk,
Yes.
David Taglia,
Yes.
Steve Whitley,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries. Good night, gentlemen.
Righty.
Wait,